than yesterday.
It's a tough, hard-nosed group. So those guys are, really take every bit of challenge and use it as motivation. So they take things to heart.
That's Tom Brady's way of saying, I made sure they know the whole world thinks they stink. That the entire world thinks they are the negative part of our team. And who does that sound like?
It's like a Bill move. That's a Bill Belichick move to kind of give you that, well, we're not very good. You're not right now. It doesn't matter. We need to be a lot better, and everyone's watching. So let's get our stuff right so we can go out here and execute at a high level. So, I mean.
So how about that Tom Brady
Tom's smart. He knows what he's doing now. He's putting it out there. The offensive line, they're going to hear it. And they're going to say, listen, we got a 45-year-old quarterback. We got to keep him clean. He can't have a ton of grass stains on him after this game and expect to win this game. So, again, I really think that the offensive line is the biggest and most important factor to the Tampa Bay Bucs in how they function, because we know Tom doesn't like to get hit. So if he's getting hit up inside, which he doesn't like, it's going to be a long day.
The part of this that fascinated me, though, was we're in the meeting. I'm going to paint the picture for you. We're all in the meeting, and I asked Minko, what does it sound like when Brady is motivating every guy in the locker room? Because you've been there, and you went into a Bill Belichick impression immediately without even realizing it. You went into Belichick. So for all the Brady-Belichick stuff, maybe Brady is using all the stuff that he learned there and bringing it down to Tampa.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, look, he's in his 23rd season. Like he's got a really big full bag of tricks, and he knows which ones to use and when. The line is getting some negative attention, right? Hey guys, you're getting some negative attention. They're wrong. Show him, and that's how he knows how to motivate. I'm sure he's never going to go into coaching. He's got too much money. He played too long, but he probably.
Are you worried about
Tom Brady? No, I could write a list of things I'm less worried about than Tom Brady on one of my fingernails. Like the one thing I'm sure of is that Tom Brady will play well this year. Period. I mean, at this point, predicting anything else is just foolishness.
RC, how about it? How about Brady letting those guys know, hey, the whole world thinks you're the reason I'm going to lose?
Well, one, because we know he ain't going to be the reason he's going to lose. Tom Brady's never the reason that Tom Brady loses. It's going to be somebody else. And he's just letting the offensive line know is if I'm not as great as I've always been for the last 2 decades plus, then it's your fault. Right? He tells them, like, he's probably sitting down with them last night and when he's watching the game or sitting at his house and he shot him a text and he said, hey, guys, did you see they did a preview for the Sunday night game? Did you see who did it? Michael Stinkin' Jordan. You know why? Because he's the GOAT. And so am I. And nobody's not going to believe that I'm not doing goatish things because of me. They're going to know it's you. That we have this makeshift offensive line and there's no Ryan Jensen and we have tackles hurt and inside interior linemen hurt and they can't protect me enough for me to be the same Tom Brady I've always been. But that's what you have to do. The other thing is this. If I'm sitting in that room and I am an offensive lineman, I know he's right. I know that he's seen enough football, experienced enough things to understand that he knows how to play at a certain level. The people around him have to execute to that level too. And when you're called out by Tom Brady, you better answer. Because if you do not answer, you're going to hear about it on the field, and everybody outside of the organization is going to point the finger at you too. He's just letting the offensive line know that before the game even gets here.
Yeah, by the way, we should not have glossed over that. How about Michael Jeffrey Jordan sitting there doing a promo for Tom Brady's game? He doesn't do that stuff, right?
No.
And that's an indication of what it is we're talking about here. How about Brady and that O-line?
Good luck.
You're worried about the O-line.
I am. And because it's, I mean, like, so, like we all know who Michael Parsons is, right? Like, Michael Parsons is that dude. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But people forget how good DeMarcus Lawrence is. DeMarcus Lawrence over the last 5 years is 5th in pass rush win rate and 5th in pressure rate. So best believe on 3rd and long, if it gets to 3rd and long, they're going to get those guys on the inside against rookies and second-year players getting after Tom Brady where he doesn't like to be pressured. And so we can all talk about Tom Brady and the goal, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, all these things. End of the day, Michael Jeffrey Jordan ain't playing, right? He's not playing left guard or center. right? And DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons know that. And so I think they're going to eat.
You know who's mad now?
Who?
Thomas Edward Patrick Brady is watching, and he's saying, he's just sent that clip. He just called our producers and said, I need that clip, and I need it in the team. To me about Russell Wilson. And it was Dominique who was the first person on this show to sort of bring this up, that there was a moment in time where it looked like Russell Wilson stood to inherit the league. He was going to become the face of the league, and it just never happened. So I think there's a legitimate question to be asked. Is that still possible for him to ascend to a level he's never quite reached in this fresh start in Denver?
He believes it is, and I believe that that's the reason he's not in Seattle anymore. Because there's a discussion to be had, right, about did Seattle prop him up early in his career or did he elevate them? And he got to a point where he's watching, you know, Tom Brady win extra Super Bowls, or he's watching Peyton Manning win a second Super Bowl, et cetera, and he knows, Russell Wilson knows his place in the history of the game and the way he's perceived, and I think he realizes that if he doesn't win again, if he doesn't elevate to that spot you're talking about, that he'll be thought of as a guy that didn't do all he could, and maybe he only won because that Seattle team was so good. He does not want that to be the case. So what happens from here on out with Russell Wilson will determine that, and he's aware of that, and that's why he went to a new place.
I'm with you. He's a person who I think is very aware of his legacy, of his place in the pecking order of things, and perceives himself a certain way. Nico, you were making the point in our meeting this morning that there was an ascension in his career, and it feels like it's plateaued. The question is there another level he can take it to, and is he in the position to do it now?
Well, we'll find out soon, but when you look back on his career, you know, there was a projection of him just continuing to climb this ladder, and then the team built around him. You think about the defense that Seattle had, the running game, everything that they had was built to really help his situation at quarterback, and they won a lot, and they won a Super Bowl. And then, you know, he got the contract. A lot of the players on defense had to go away. The offensive line got older. You lose your running back. Things kind of fell apart. And then you look at the quarterbacks that kind of jumped up over him, ahead of him, and he kind of went down as far as his production is concerned. Yeah, I'm sure that he's excited for this opportunity, number one. It's a completely fresh start. They paid him anticipating him to climb back up the ladder, become one of those top 5 quarterbacks, and he has the pieces around him to do that. So, again, I think that he kind of leveled off there, and now it's a time for him to regroup and see if he can get back on top.
RC, you put this in an interesting way this morning, that there is something, it's sort of on the flip side of this discussion, that there's something Russell Wilson has always been able to count down that he will no longer be able to.
Yeah, Russell Wilson says he believes that he's one of the best. And I agree with that. Russell Wilson is going to be a Hall of Famer. But when Russell Wilson would trot onto the field on Sundays at 12 or Sundays at 1 o'clock to play in the NFC West, he was the best quarterback on the field. Whether he was playing the Rams, whether he was playing the San Francisco 49ers, or if he was playing the Cardinals, the Seattle Seahawks knew they had a decided advantage at quarterback every divisional game. That is no longer. When Russell Wilson is playing the Kansas City Chiefs, there aren't going to be people that's going to walk on the field and say, oh, you know what? The Denver Broncos have Russell Wilson. We're in trouble because all we have is Patrick Mahomes. Nah, if you got Patrick Mahomes, you say, we got the better quarterback. If you have Justin Herbert, you say, we got the better quarterback. If you have Derek Carr, especially with his weapons, the Las Vegas Raiders are probably saying, we have the better quarterback. And so Russell Wilson can feel like he's the best, but this is what we know. 6 times this year, he's going to have to go out and prove it. And when he doesn't, or if he doesn't, then there's always going to be that question. Was it Marshawn Lynch and the Legion of Boom, or was it Russell Wilson? And if he never does this, or he never wins another one, and if he can't go to Denver and change this team around, which we feel will be better with him than it was with Drew Lock, with Teddy Bridgewater, I think that will be a question that's answered by his inability to win a ring there if he does not.
I'll just say this. The reason that everyone says the AFC West is such a tough division is because Russell Wilson is one of the quarterbacks in that division.
Fair.
And so, like, the whole deal about, like, man, well, we'll see. Like, yeah, we'll see, but of course he's better than what Drew Lock was. Of course he's going to be better than what Teddy Bridgewater was. Like, that's why they brought him there. And so I get it. You're right. He can't walk out there and say, I'm the best and better than all these guys, at least on paper. But what he could do in Denver is take this team to the playoffs, right? And also maybe win some games in the playoffs. That's how good this team around him could be.
Well, that's why a player who was, to RC's point, already a Hall of Famer has a lot